let's get to the news. All right, so we got some news and we got some updates with Big U. I saw some headlines about a bunch of intercepted phone calls that he had, and I was just like, no way. It's one thing to see the titles, but you know us, when we got access to the paperwork, we would rather read that. So I'm taking a look at the paperwork here, and let's get to it. Ah, this was filed on the second, so yeah, 2 days ago. All right, so we got the United States versus the plaintiff. Here we go with them aliases again. Eugene Henley Jr., aka Big U, aka Unc, aka Draws, aka Hannibal, aka Hannibal Muhammad, aka Anybody Killer. Like, who calls somebody that on the street? That's wild, B. AKA Dave Austin. Then he's got his co-defendants on this particular indictment. Sylvester Robinson, aka Vay, Mark Martin, aka Bear Claw, Tremaine Ashley Williams, that's Loose Cannon, Armani, however you pronounce that last name, aka Monty, Frederick Blayton Jr., and Tiffany Shanikra Hines. All right. So stipulations regarding requests for continuance of trial date and the findings of executable time periods pursuant to speedy trial. So I think Big U wants a speedy trial. Nothing wrong with that if you feel like your legal counsel is ready, right? If your lawyers is ready to go and they got the defenses all prepared, you feel like you've gone through your discovery and you understand what type of witnesses you might be facing and all that type of stuff. Hey, who wants to sit in there longer than you need to? Let's get the trial and figure out what's going to happen. But plaintiff United States of America, buying through its counsel of record, the United States Attorney for the Central District of California and Assistant United States Attorney Kevin J. Butler and Gina A. Maccabee, the defendants, and it goes through the same names again. Number one, the indictment in this case was filed on March 26, 2025. Here goes the defendants again. The Speedy Trial Act originally required that the trial commence on or before June 4th, 2025. As to those defendants, defendant Big U first appeared before a judicial officer of the court in which the charges in this case were pending on March 20th, 2025, and the Speedy Trial Act thus originally required that the trial commence on or before June 4th, 2025, as to that defendant. Okay. All right. So his stuff could start right around the corner. On April 4th, 2025, the court set a trial date on March 19th, 2025, and pretrial conference for May 9th, 2025, as to the defendant Williams. On April 8th and 14th, 2025, the court set a trial date of May 20th, 2025, and pretrial conference for May 9th, 2025 for all other defendants. Okay. Defendant Henley and Williams are detained pending trial. The remaining defendants are on bond pending trial. That is big. That is a big update right there. I didn't know that. And I know a lot of people's going to see that on the internet. Because you know what happens when only a couple people get bond and nobody else gets bond. I think Loose Cannon said that. Then he on a jail call home, I mean, Loose Cannon, he talks all types of true, false, take everything he says with a grain of salt. But he says something like, well, just tell me, look at the people that made bond, insinuating that those will possibly be the ones that are telling or cooperating. So when people get stuff like this, that's what they're going to think, right? Still, there's no proof, but only Big U and Loose Cannon, as far as all the codees that we read above that are listed, are still being detained. Everybody else got a bond. Now, Big U, they got you painted as the leader. I'm not shocked. The big boogeyman of LA, right? So I'm not shocked at that. And when it comes down to the paperwork and the indictment, they got a murder on them. So, and when it comes down to Loose Cannon, hell, the whole internet just watched him pistol whipping somebody, allegedly beating up people and saying this and saying that recklessly online. So he kind of looks like a danger to the community, right? And I'm not wishing nothing on nobody. I'm just saying. But I mean, we're not as familiar with all these other people, so I don't know if some of their stuff is due to violent acts or drug sales or whatever, but they got bonds. Loose and Big U did not. Wow. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let's continue. By this stipulation, defendants moved to continue the trial date to May 4th, 2026, and pretrial conference date to April 24th, 2026. This is the first request for a continuance. Defendants request a continuance based upon the following facts, which the parties believe demonstrate good cause to support the appropriate findings under the Speedy Trial Act. Okay. All right. Now, is this the piece that's been going around? Um, Where's the piece that's going around the internet all of a sudden with people just tripping out and saying, "Oh no, it's a wrap for you. It is a wrap for you." Defendants are charged with varying violations. We know that. Conspiracy to interfere with commerce by robbery and extortion. We know that. Transportation of an individual in interstate commerce. We know that. Wire fraud, embezzlement, conversion. Okay, all of this stuff, attempt to evade and defeat the assessment and payment of income tax. Yes, all of this stuff is already in the indictment that we read, but this is the new one that people's going crazy over right here. The government has produced over 60 gig of discovery to the defense, including law enforcement reports, search warrants, and returns criminal history, documents, recordings, and photographs. Now, there's another piece to this that's coming up in a second when it relates to the intercepted phone calls. But 60 gigs of discovery to the defense. I mean, 60 gigs in today's tech world, it could be a lot if you're talking about things as small as screenshots, could be a little if you're talking about a couple videos. You know what I'm saying? Like you could chew up 60 gig with, 10 videos easily. But I don't know what type of videos they would be turning over other than like surveillance footage, right? I don't know. This to me sounds like the former, screenshots and pictures. 60 gigs could be a lot if that's the case, man. You know how many pictures I could fit on screenshots and whatnot I could fit on 60 gig? Okay. This is the bomb. The government is in the process of producing over 20,000 intercepted audio calls, as well as numerous whatever that is, surreptitious audio and video recordings, such of which will be protected discovery. Let me Google real quick. What is protected discovery? Does that mean that Big U himself gets to see it? What is protected discovery? Because we know about AEO, attorney eyes only, which means that the attorney can get it and fight it and do and process the information, but the defendant can't see it. In legal discovery, protected discovery refers to information that is exempt from being disclosed or accessed during the discovery process. This protection is typically granted to privileged communications, such as those between an attorney and their client, as well as an attorney's work product prepared in anticipation of litigation. Protected discovery, privilege, attorney-client privilege. We know about that. Of the privilege. Examples include spousal privilege, work product doctrine, why information is protected from discovery. Protecting confidentiality, privileged communications are protected to encourage open and honest communication between parties and their legal representatives, ensuring fair trial, preventing undue burden or harassment. Examples of protected information. This is the last piece that we probably need. Documents containing confidential attorney-client communications. We know that. Materials prepared by an attorney in anticipation of litigation. Some medical records, depending on the jurisdiction. Confidential business information. Information protected by other privileges, such as spousal or doctor-patient privilege. I'll take a guess. I'll take a guess about that. I mean, to me, that sounds like that's the type of shit you find out about in court at trial, right? Like that's not the exchanging of items. Like, hey, I just want to let you know I have this picture about your client and this screenshot about your client. Like was the OJ glove known to Johnny Cochran before they got the trial? Like, like I don't know, but if you gotta walk into without being able to know what it's about, 20,000 intercepted audio calls, that's scary. The number itself is spooky as shit. 20,000. Remember in The Wire where, that's not in The Wire. It's actually depicted somewhere else. It's Casino, right? In Casino, when De Niro and Pesci, when shit was hot around them and they had to make calls to each other, They let the wives get on the phone first and talk shit for like a couple of minutes. They said by a certain amount of time, if the feds is listening, they have to click off because it's not pertinent. It has nothing to do with the investigation. And they were just sitting there waiting for the wives to act like they was going shopping and all that type of shit, yada, 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 yada. I think they heard a click or something, or they realized a certain amount of time passed. Then they got on the phone to talk their shit, their criminal related shit, right? So 20,000 calls, if it follows that type of process, which is art imitates life, that's real world shit, then imagine it's 20,000 calls of pertinent information. Not just 20,000 calls of well, this particular call was me calling the Chinese food store for delivery. This one right here, I'm talking to loose cannon about some wild shit. But then that one over there, I'm just calling my little shorty over, right? 20,000 calls and 30% of them is something that maybe you could have to deal with. Maybe the number comes down, but this when we see this $20,000, I swear to you, if that is all pertinent information to the investigation of alleged crimes, directly or indirectly, how the fuck do you escape that? If I'm talking about anything 20,000 times that can play against me in court, I'm done. I'm done. We be tripping when we see something said once. 20,000? That's a lot of pictures being painted. That's a lot of dots being connected. All right, we'll see.